We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Welcome into Tailgate. Austin Gayle here with Mike Renner in sunny Cincinnati. Coming off a decent weekend. SantaCon, some Urban Meyer fallout, which I really want to spend like the entire first part of the podcast on, and a good week of NFL. I think favorites went 12-1. 12-1 this week. I think the Falcons were the only underdog to win, or the closing line underdog to win. We got another good game tonight here on Monday night. We're recording this at 2:48 on Monday. Let's talk fucking Urban Meyer, dude. This was a sensational Saturday. Tom Pelissero of NFL Media, that is a point that needs to be hammered home. Like the NFL, the league media, pushing out an absolute Saturday morning bombshell. How's your breakfast, Urban? Bang on just tensions. I think the title of the article, tensions boiling over between Coach Urban Meyer, Jaguars players, staff amid 2-10 start, right? And some of the bullets on this thing are absurd. Marvin Jones, one of the veterans there, became so angry with Meyer's public and private criticism that he left the facility until other staff members convinced him to come back, and had a heated argument with Meyer during practice. During a staff meeting, Meyer delivered a biting message that he's the winner. He's a winner. This sounds fucking incredible. Meyer delivered a biting message that he's a winner and his assistant coaches are losers, according to several people informed of the contents of the meeting, challenging each coach individually to explain when they've ever won and forcing them to defend their resumes. Mike, I won't read further. React to that, because that is the most absurd shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, I have been an Urban Meyer defender. I'm not.
We know.
You know, I've been an Urban Meyer defender.
You've been to his bar in Columbus.
I have not actually. I need to go. I heard it's fantastic.
You don't.
But I will say the biggest sort of red flag should have been when he did hire. I don't want to call his staff losers, but when he put together a staff, I thought his biggest strength at the collegiate level, and I think we've seen that bear out with where all his assistants have gone, has been his ability to hire quality offensive and defensive minds, to coordinate his offensive defense. When he hired, what he hired in Jacksonville with Joe Collins, defensive coordinator, Darrell Bevell as offense coordinator, they were not great hires. They were objectively pretty meh hires in terms of their track record in the NFL. And so, obviously, Urban Meyer boiling over, calling them losers, whatever.
What do you mean, whatever? That's ridiculous.
I'm saying it's beyond the pale at this point for Meyer. I believe he is self-sabotaging to try to get himself out of Jacksonville. I think he just doesn't want to be there anymore.
But he wasn't so here's the thing.
But I do think that he put himself in this scenario when this is who he hired. That's on you. If you're calling your assistants losers, you're the fucking one that put the staff together.
In my opinion, his entire tenure has been the "I think you should leave" hot dog meme, where the guy's dressed up in the hot dog suit and he's like, "Who on earth could be responsible for this?"
We're all trying to
it's
find
like he's calls this meeting, calls all the people he hired losers. It's like, you hired us.
Yeah.
And now you're asking them to defend resumes? Buddy, you approved the resumes. You know the resumes. That, in my opinion, is absurd. And it also has to be so deflating, right? Like, these coaches are trying to do everything to win football games too, dude. They're not out there just yeah, we're losers. And then you get in there and they're like, why are you a loser? I wish I was there for that meeting. Other thing I wanted to add from the article that I thought was interesting, I think it's big for the fantasy football community. Fantasy football fans are big on James Robinson, right? The undrafted rookie, had an awesome year last year. Urban comes along, and he has not been playing as much as people expect. So Meyer had public statements that he didn't bench James Robinson. And then it comes out that he did bench James Robinson in the 37-7 loss to the Rams after an early fumble. And he didn't put Robinson back in until Trevor Lawrence asked why James Robinson wasn't in. And then he put him back in. That coupled with the other personnel thing that I find hilarious, or the players' playing time thing I find hilarious. Demetrius Harvey, who I think is a reporter for the Jacksonville Jaguars for Sports Illustrated. Urban Meyer today was asked about Andre Sisco, the rookie out of Syracuse. We liked him coming out of Syracuse, about him playing more, safety. He said Sisco is playing more, I believe. I don't have his numbers in front of me. Sisco didn't play a snap yesterday. Like there is a loss of control. You want to point out losers, man. I mean, this has been an unmitigated nightmare, and we can make fun of them all day long. My thing is here. There are some reports. I think Peter King said they're committed to maybe staying with him through 2022. I just don't see how it happens. I don't see physically how he survives the next 2 weeks, let alone an off season at the helm, given just what he's done to this coaching staff, how he's lost the respect of Marvin Jones, probably Trevor Lawrence and other players here. This has been, I don't think people even expected it to be this worse. It's been way worse than people's expectations.
I think that's the biggest thing. The most damning of all of those sort of issues that were reported is the James Robinson thing to me, because he comes out after the game and says it wasn't his call. Literally coming out and lying that it wasn't his call after the game and that it was the running back coach who made that decision. That to me is probably like I said, the most damning, because you're alienating literally everybody there, and you're passing the buck of responsibility to everyone else but yourself for a decision. And that's, part and parcel of bad leadership. That's how you lose. Yeah. That's how you lose everyone quickly. Not, calling them losers, whatever is, I keep saying calling them losers, whatever, but things can get heated in a meeting. That is showing your true colors when you are not willing to take responsibility for a decision like that. I did have to laugh though. Richard Johnson on Twitter at RJ_writes found a great clip from when Urban was on Big Noon Kick when he was on Fox last year, that were his criteria to examine for struggling teams. This is his criteria. They were 1, trust issues; 2, dysfunctional environment; and 3, selfishness. Urban may need to revisit his criteria to examine struggling teams.
Oh my gosh, absolutely phenomenal. And then you have, so you remember that report, right? Urban, it was Vrabel who pinned Urban against a wall or something, and then or whatever it was, and then you saw obviously on
the post-game handshake.
The post-game handshake was
electric.
It was as defeating as you could see anything on television. It was
as sad as him eating pizza in the hallway.
Oh my God!
It was that level of just, I don't know why. His body language is an atrocity.
The content he's provided us has been sensational. I will say he has not sold us short there. He has provided life to this podcast and to other people's Twitter as things continue to progress. Let's get off of Urban, though. Urban stinks. Let's get to this preview or this review here. Want to talk each and every NFL game in Week 14, starting with Thursday night, which was originally an absolute snore. It was me and some PFF guys at one of the wing places here in Cincy, and we watched the first half and we're going home. This is a disaster. It was one of the most embarrassing Steelers games I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. They were giving, I think Dalvin Cook in the first half had over 120 yards rushing on 6 carries or some crazy ass shit. Steelers end up clawing back what looked like was going to be a late collapse by the Minnesota Vikings that put their fans in dismay. Vikings do end up holding out, cover the 3. They were favored by 3. They win 36-28. The bigger takeaway for me here is Minnesota is still wildly flawed despite being somewhat in the playoff race in the NFC. They have, I believe, the Bears Monday night on the road. Maybe you consider that a win. Rams at home a loss. Packers on the road a loss. And then Bears at home again. They probably need to steal one of the Rams or Packers games. I don't know if they do. And if that case, they're probably on the outside looking in. And as for the Steelers, we've said this probably since week 2. I mean, they need to blow this thing up. Big Ben's not playing well. This defense looks worse every single week. A rough showing for the Steelers, even though they did claw back.
It was, though. That fourth quarter was vintage Big Ben. He looked that was turn back the clock a little bit. The last throw was an absolute, you could not put that any better. That was not a big window. Obviously, great play by Harrison Smith to break that one up. But, yeah, if they could have gotten that guy for any sort of stretches the rest of the season, they'd be in the playoff mix. They would probably be in the playoffs pretty comfortably. But sadly, that guy only comes out few and far between at this point with Big Ben nearing 40. I don't know about blow this up. I still think it's a good roster. But the quarterback position cannot be what it was this year. You know, they have to do something differently, whatever it is. We've obviously talked about that a lot. On the flip side of the ball, though, I will say some encouraging things for the Vikings. I thought Garrett Bradbury played his best football that we've seen from maybe ever. And he's come back since he got benched and came back from COVID. Didn't get back in the starting lineup right away. I thought the last couple of weeks has been the best he's played football, which obviously encouraging to see. They could use any help along that offensive line with some injuries there. But I still think both these teams, you see that they are. I mean, this game kind of showed both of them have some serious flaws.
Yeah. I mean, Big Ben, I think, is among the lowest graded quarterbacks in football. And I think he is one of the 5 lowest graded quarterbacks of rookies in Big Ben. Like, it has been that bad for Big Ben. I think in my latest mock draft, which we're going to look at on Wednesday, I have them taking Pittsburgh's finest, Kenny Pickett, I think at 16. That's where they're currently projected to pick. I think they should be looking quarterback in this class. If they're not picking inside the top 10, which I don't know if they will be, taking a flyer on one of these guys where no one can really figure out who the real QB1 is while you try and reset the position, I think would be advantageous for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Getting cheaper at the position and probably better, right? Even Kenny Pickett as a rookie is going to, I think, have probably better output than Big Ben is having right now. Falcons, Panthers, next game here. This was the only game, one of the few games where I actually liked a dog, and it was the only dog that won. Yeah. Falcons win 29-21 on the road. In my notes here, I like calling out what I specifically write in my notes. Matt Rule, ... What the fuck? What the hell is going on? I don't understand why he benched Cam Newton, then he put him back in, and then he it
was a very collegiate handling of the quarterback position. Like, that happens a lot in college, where it's like, let's flip willy-nilly, go back and forth. That does not happen in the NFL. It's the margins are so razor thin. The guy that is the starter needs all these reps to just even be in the building. Yeah. To flip them back and forth is just there's a reason it hasn't worked. There's not a strong track record of it at the end.
And he kind of explained it after, right? He was like, those 2 turnovers that they had early can't happen. Like, it just can't happen. So they threw PJ Walker in. But that's not the solution, right? Like, I think damaging people's confidence when you have an objectively worse quarterback on the bench makes no sense to me. Me and Trevor Sycamore were watching that game together, and you know that, like, I'm back meme or video. It was like Cam Newton getting back off the bench when he's like ready to play again. I'm back. That was pretty great. I do think I saw a tweet, I think maybe even from Brad Spielberger, a cap analyst here at PFF. The Joe Brady firing. Joe Brady looks better by the second here.
I was going to say, I can't believe it wasn't Joe Brady's fault, right?
Joe Brady looks better by the second as Matt Rule. I mean, Matt Rule said that he'll continue to play Cam Newton and PJ Walker and maybe even involve Sam Darnold down the stretch.
They're still going to rotate QBs, you said.
That feels absurd to me. This Panthers team's toast.
Yes, I think you could pretty safely say that. And I mean, anytime you have an in-season coordinator fire, and now Eric Eager could probably speak to this better than I can with his vast knowledge of in-season coaching changes, but that's usually the telltale sign of a sinking ship. That's like throwing 1 bucket of water off of a ship that has a hole in the bottom. Like, there's just that thing's going to go down. It is not the in-season coordinator hire is not the thing that ends up galvanizing a team and turning them around.
One thing here, some Panthers fans were commenting on my mock draft, and I said we'll go over the full thing on Wednesday, but they were like, we have 1 pick in the top 100, and you're going to take an edge defender. I think I gave him Karlaftis. It's because I didn't, they were picking 8, currently projected to pick 8. I don't love any of the quarterbacks at 8. But they put themselves in this situation when they traded for Darnold, right? Darnold's 5th-year option is guaranteed.
Yeah, it's like, why do you have 1 pick in the top 100?
You traded for Sam Darnold and then guaranteed the 5th-year option. Like, you are in this boat now. And there's a lot of me that says, screw it, like, take a quarterback. It's the most valuable position, even if you don't like any of them inside the top 10. And maybe Carolina does do that. But it would just continue to add just like malpractice and how this franchise has been run of late, right? Like, a lot of the decisions they've made, the Teddy Bridgewater decision to flip to the Darnold decision, passing on some of these quarterbacks just makes no sense. And they are now reaping the fucking rewards, reaping what you sow in Carolina right now.
How insane, though, now is this 7th wild card race in the NFC?
It's
insane. Got 5 teams at 6 and 7. 5 teams. And
they all stink.
That's the 7th. And it's like everyone and their mother is thinking, why do we expand to 7 playoff teams at this point?
Yes.
Everyone's just like, do we need to see this Falcons team go up against, I don't know, the Packers in Lambeau? We really don't. That really is not a game that needs to be played for us to prove who's the best team in the NFL.
I made some of these comments on the NFL Live show. I stepped in for Eric Eager. Eager was at the Army-Navy game, which I heard was an absolute riot. But the further you expand the playoffs, and you've even said this about the college football playoff, the less it does to actually prove who the best team in the NFL is, right? Like when you open up this randomness and you open up more games, it's going to lead to some of these like Cinderella stories and where a Washington football team sneaks in and upsets a Green Bay because, lightning strikes in a bottle or whatever that expression is. I don't want Washington in the playoffs. I don't want the Vikings. I don't want the Eagles. I don't want the Falcons or the Saints. All those teams are 6 and 7. But one of them's going to get in, and I got to watch this team compete against Green Bay and potentially cost Green Bay, who is objectively a better football team, a chance at the big dance. I'm upset at it as much as you are, and I'm excited to watch how it falls out, though. I think that's why you play the game, right?
I will watch every single playoff game.
I'll watch every second. Before we get into Ravens-Browns, working from home, I got to shout out my guy's X Chair. Working from home is more important now than ever. Optimize your home office with an X Chair and our many accessories to enhance your focus, productivity, energy, and comfort. Once you feel the customized support of X Chair's patented dynamic variable lumbar, there's no going back. It's all in the LMX massage and temperature regulation, exclusively designed and made for X Chair with versatile comfort and extraordinary design. X Chair fits any space, high performance, quality engineering, extreme comfort. Those are all reasons I love my X Chair. Now I can't wait to be at work. And sometimes even when I'm not working, Mike, I sit in my X Chair. I sneak into the fucking office and sit in my X Chair to get into that feeling. Just to sit there and feel it.
See, I don't know how you brought yours to the office. I keep mine under wraps.
I might take it home. Go to xchairtailgate.com now, and that's the letter X Chair, TAILGATE.com, or call 1-844-4XChair for $100 off your order. X Chair has a 30-day guarantee of complete comfort, and you can finance your purchase for as little as $30 a month. xchairtailgate.com. If you're watching on YouTube, it's as easy as checking out the link in the description below. This game next here, Ravens-Browns. Browns favored by 2.5. I think we both backed the Browns. Ravens with the sneakiest, dirtiest of backdoor covers with Tyler Huntley in the game. Lamar Jackson left with an ankle injury, and I'm not sure if he'll even suit up in the next game. But Browns still win 24-22, but the Ravens claw back and nearly win this game. Disaster that Cleveland let them go in. But I will say Cleveland was in control. Baker had a lot of clean pockets, and that Ravens secondary is down horrendous. Jimmy Smith didn't play in this game. Marlon Humphrey on the injured reserve. They're in a really bad spot on the back end, so much that you talk about the NFC playoff race, right, and it's muddy. Ravens are currently slotted at number 4 at 8-5. Just took an L to the Browns. Browns are 7-6, and they have down the stretch here, Raiders at home, dub. Packers on the road will be tough. Steelers on the road will still be tough, but should be a win. And then the Bengals at home, which I think at home, with how the Bengals have been playing of late, maybe that's a win too. They could go 3-1 down the stretch here, and they're still plus 175 to win the division. Yeah. Ravens are still the favorite to win the division. I think it's because they have obviously the game ahead, but still, I like the Browns as a good bet to win that division and get into the postseason, even if I don't buy them necessarily as deep playoff contenders.
Yeah, this one, the fact that they let the Ravens back in, though, was a tad worrisome, but this was more like they controlled it. It kind of just seemed fluky towards the end, letting them back. But obviously, no Lamar Jackson, him missing any time, and like we said with the Ravens schedule down the stretch, they could be the odd man out there in the AFC North. It could be the Browns and Bengals getting into the playoffs, and the Ravens may not even make it to 10 wins at this point. Like I said, especially if Lamar has to miss any reasonable amount of time. But it did the stupid 2-point conversion talk after the game, which we'll get to a little bit later. But if the fact that people are still debating whether to go for 2 early, which is what the Ravens did, to know that they had it, and they literally played out the situation of why you go for 2 early, to know that you're going to be down more than 1 score, to then get the onside kick, which was an insane onside kick that Andy Janovich was just out to lunch on. Hit him in the shoulder. And obviously then not get any first down after that. But that is the part and parcel of why you do what you do in the 2-point when you're down
9 and you go for 2.
Down 9, go for 2. And people are still debating whether or not they made the right call is just insane.
That video that's circling.
We'll get to that a little bit later. We got the video.
Oh, we have the video? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we have that. It's one of the grosser things I think on spreading on the internet right now. Can I mention this? One, I love the expression out to lunch. I feel like it always makes me laugh. 2, you've dropped part and parcel twice on this show.
Have I?
I don't think we can do that, Mike. We can't.
I'm not even sure. I couldn't even tell you when I said it the first time.
You said it somehow, and it caught my, because I liked it first, right? I liked it in the Urban Meyer conversation. I think part and parcel of leadership. Remember you said that's part and parcel of leadership, and then you just dropped it again. I'm like, all right, Mike, you need to fucking reel it in. I don't know what books you're reading lately, but you need to reel it in. Seahawks at Texans is next on our list here. I put in my notes before this game, I need to stop betting on the Texans or go to therapy. I stopped betting on the Texans. I took Seahawks and took Seahawks big, and they win big, 33-13. They covered the 7.5 number. Texans actively tanking by not starting Tyrod Taylor and starting Davis Mills. He's one of the lowest graded quarterbacks in all the NFL. I came away from this game with 2 things. One, I feel terrible for Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is a very talented receiver, still young, still, in my opinion, at least in somewhat of the prime of his career, and getting absolutely destroyed by the Houston Texans and the decisions they've made. 2, our San Diego State Aztecs rose up in this one. Rashad Penny had a career day for the Seattle Seahawks, in addition to obviously some really pretty throws from Russell Wilson.
Rashad Penny was balling, actually. He looked very good. And obviously, like,
he's back. We're back. I'm just going to do the Cam Newton thing.
He was never, so he was a first-round pick. Obviously, never should have been a first-round pick, like, in retrospect. But he's always been a talented dude, just dealt with a lot of injuries. I believe his career yards per attempt is still like over 5. Every time he's gotten opportunities, he's actually played well, but has been injured a lot throughout his career. And the Brandon Cooks thing, of all the hilarious thing about Brandon Cooks, or not hilarious, but almost tragic thing about Brandon Cooks, is he got moved around so much over the course of his career that finally he said last year when he got traded to the Texans, he's like, I don't want to get traded anymore. Like, to the Texans, this is it. I want to be here. And then all the shit happens with the Texans, and all of a sudden he's stuck on this sinking ship. 843 yards this year. He's been very
good. He is good.
The exact same guy he's always been, but stuck in this shit show. But that was where he planted his flag and said, no more trading me. Dude's only 28 years old. One of the most underrated careers. Last thing here, though, and it's the reason how I know no one watches Texans games, is because Russell Wilson made almost the identical throw to Justin Herbert yesterday. Everyone's going to talk about, and you've probably seen it, the Justin Herbert bomb. Probably was the throw of the year. The throw was absolutely insane that he's almost getting hit as he throws it, 63 yards through the air. Go watch Russell Wilson. I'll tweet it out maybe at some point today. Russell Wilson, damn near identical in terms of breaks out to the pocket to his right, over 60 yards in the air, hits Tyler Lockett at the goal line for a touchdown. And I don't think I saw it once yesterday tweeted out. Because no one watches them. No one watches these games. That is, unfortunately, Texans football in the year 2021.
The proverbial, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, doesn't make a sound, is if anyone makes a good play in a Texans game, does anyone see it? Yeah. Brandon Cooks is only 28 years old. Opened his career 3 years in New Orleans, year in New England, 2 years in Los Angeles, and now 2 years in Houston. He's had over 1,000 yards receiving in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he'll probably get it here. He'll have it in 6 of his 8 seasons in the NFL. Yeah. And he's done it with a bunch of, a bunch of different teams in his career. I hope he goes somewhere where he can actually shine, because I think Brandon Cooks is damn good. Raiders Chiefs. I put in all caps here. I called it. I called it on this podcast, and I called it on the NFL show.
You were more intelligent than I.
I don't think I was more intelligent.
You knew that a tiger doesn't change its stripes. Yeah. I thought a tiger could. I thought Gus Bradley could maybe be a little flexible. Or not even just maybe be a little flexible. Like, at least coach his guys up to a degree in something other than single high defenses.
But here's the thing.
I'm saying they did. They tried. But they just, again, a tiger can't change stripes.
It really can't. And I said on this podcast and on the NFL Live show, which you don't watch, we do it every single week on YouTube. I was like, this is going to be an absolute blowout. And some people wanted to bet Raiders +9, Raiders +9.5. And I feel bad for those people because they had to watch one of the worst blowouts I think we've ever seen on a Sunday this season. It was horrendous start to finish. Josh Jacobs fumbled like the first play of the game, and from there was a wrap. Yes. It was legitimately a wrap from there. Now, Tigers can't change his stripes. I think Sam Monson on the NFL Live show is like, go play more too high looks, Gus Bradley. Go do that. You need to go do that to stop them. They played it roughly 50% of the time.
Still not close to what is.
No, it should have been more, right? Maybe it should have been more. They allowed, when they showed too high pre-snap, 0.63 EPA per play. Now, that number doesn't have a lot of context. It's not as ubiquitous as yards per carry. That is the highest in too high looks in a single game any team has done this season. they were getting toasted. So, and everyone's like, what? Why? It doesn't matter. Too high is not the answer. You need to have also the dogs to do it. Like Trayvon Merrick is a rookie, and then they move Jonathan Abram into the box play linebacker, and they have a guy named Dolan Levitt who plays the other half of the field. And Sam said on the show, he's like, how hard is it to play, one half of the field? So obviously very hard. And they had Trayvon Mullen back at corner, but it was the first game back since he got hurt. He was getting toasted by every receiver out there. It was an awful showing by the Raiders defense and an awful showing by the Raiders offense. No one can create separation. Brian Edwards had 2 receptions for 29 yards. Hunter Renfrow was the only thing that looked lively. Darren Waller missed that game. The Chiefs defense now ranks 2nd in scoring drive percentage allowed since week 5, 3rd in EPA per play. It is a disaster start to finish in this game, and I don't think everyone should have caught it. I think everyone should have saw it coming.
So, I regrettably did not. Jonathan Abram, though, in 2 games against the Chiefs this year.
Oh, no.
14 of 14 targets he's allowed. Every single time he's been targeted, he's allowed a completion, 166 yards and a score.
It's find the fish defense or offense.
Actually, Cleveland Farrell had probably one of his best games, obviously still a part-time player, though, for them. But that 2019 draft, everyone kind of has always hung their hat on, they got Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs looks like shit this year.
Dude, he looks awful. Kenyon Drake is better.
Yes, he's comfortably the 2nd best running back on this team. And the report over the weekend that I saw, he now has 9 different kids by 9 different kids by 8 women.
I didn't see that report.
That
does sound rough.
Is absolutely unbelievable. I was like floored. This guy, he's in the Antonio Cromartie range.
But I thought Antonio Cromartie only had one mom.
No,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't get into those part of their lives. I will say this.
But when I heard that, I was like, that one may not work out either. That pick.
Well, the only takeaway to have from that is that's fucking hard to deal with. That's a busy ass.
I'm saying
life.
that's like a stressful situation on the side.
It is hard. I don't care who you are. That's hard to manage. That is hard to manage. And also be like an elite athlete, like one of the top 32 players at a position, and also manage that. That sounds difficult. I wanted to add something. I tweeted out a stat on the Raiders' offensive line. Brandon Parker and Alex Leatherwood, they were starting right guard and right tackle for the Raiders, among all offensive linemen this season, ranked tied for 1st in pressure rate allowed at 11%. And a lot of Raiders fans have replied or quote tweeted this and have commented on, this is not Derek Carr's fault, because there's a lot of flack right now. I think Vic Tafur of The Athletic wrote about how maybe it does make sense for a change of scenery for Derek Carr to move on from Derek Carr. I've gone on this soapbox probably 1,000 times. Derek Carr is one of the 3 best players on this football team. The problem is he is in that tier of quarterback that plays to the level of his supporting cast. And this supporting cast has been nothing better than dog shit for the last 20 years. The 1 year it was good. Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper, Kelechi Osemele, Rodney Hudson, Donald Penn. They had an offense. They could do it. He was on his way to an MVP and broke his leg on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem, right? Like lightning in a bottle is Derek Carr still on his rookie contract, and you built a good offense around him with a capable coach. Now that trying to catch lightning bottle again, now that he's done this 2nd contract is just impossible. I think moving on from him, getting draft picks to benefit him, right, to go to a better supporting cast and then actually reset this roster and start drafting appropriately, that's the way the Raiders should move forward. Not because Derek Carr isn't good, but because this roster will never be good enough to win with Derek Carr.
I wouldn't say never be good enough.
Or it won't be good anytime soon. I think it'll take 2-3 years before this roster's good.
They had the chance. They had 5 first-rounders in 2 years, and none of them are impact players in that roster. That was your window, and
you burnt it.
Caked your pants.
You didn't though. Caked your pants is all right. Saints at Jets. Saints at Jets. You want to talk about unwatchable football? This Saints-Jets game was tough, dude. This was a grind. I'm surprised that people tuned into this game. Saints ended up winning pretty handily, but it was a slow start. Saints win 30-9. Both offenses looked awful. Alvin Kamara was a bright spot. I think Taysom Hill had a couple highlight plays. But if you have any takeaways from this game outside of both these teams stink, I don't know what to tell you. Like both these teams aren't good.
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway is that Zach Wilson not only, was probably his worst performance all year, maybe in my opinion, just in terms of like positive takeaways, because he wasn't making bad decisions. He just couldn't hit an open receiver to save his life. I mean, he bounced a swing screen that had to probably travel about 10 yards in a straight, like, out to Braxton Berrios. He put it about 7 yards.
Yeah.
And he bounced another one on the move to just like in the flat. Like he was all over the place from an accuracy perspective. And the confidence, and a lot of that's confidence. I mean, the guy we saw at BYU who just didn't care about the window that he was thrown to, didn't care about the pressure that he was under. He was going to let it rip. It's not even close. I mean, the guy's eyes are darting all over the place. He is not confident in the pocket. And obviously that's a big factor in it. But when does that change?
Yeah.
Like you want to see that get better. Like he has a lot of reps under his belt at this point to where, like I said, I thought last week could have been sort of a jumping off point because I said last week was probably the best he looked all year. But sadly, not to be the case.
Before we get to Jaguars Titans, another game that I would argue was unwatchable and hard to have takeaways from, if you want to support this podcast, you got to use promo code TAILGATE, that's TAILGATE, to get 25% off any PFF subscription. You get access to all of Mike and I's article content. You get access to the grades, the advanced stats, the betting dashboards. If you will follow football religiously, bet, play fantasy football, or care so much about your team that you want to run mock draft simulator and all that stuff, PFF is the place for you. 25% off your PFF subscription. Use promo code TAILGATE. Also, this holiday season is here, and because Tailgate listeners are the best of all PFF podcasts, we want to help create a list of what PFF should build for you. You can email us at contact@pff.com, contact@pff.com, with answers to these questions. We'd really appreciate it. What PFF feature do you love the most, and what do you want the most from PFF in 2022? A little Santa Christmas list to get after. Jaguars Titans. Titans were favored by 8.5, and this one wasn't even close. I think we both liked Jaguars plus 8.5.
No, I like the Titans.
Okay.
You were the one saying that you thought the Jags were going to score 20.
Yeah,
And I said I don't think they score over 10.
Gosh darn
And
it.
they didn't score a point.
In my notes, another unwatchable game. Trevor Lawrence is by himself. He's having to make personnel decisions on the sideline. He's having to come up to Urban like, can we put James Robinson back in? He had 6 carries in this game.
Yeah.
James Robinson had 6 carries in this game. Trevor Lawrence is begging Urban to play the good players. Then my notes close out with this. This needs to stop. It's abuse at this point. Trevor Lawrence deserves better. The Jags deserve better. A lot of these players deserve better. There is some talent on this team. Josh Allen's talented. The edge defender there. Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson. Marvin Jones, I think, is good. I'm one of the better receivers that's healthy on this team. Like, God, it has been an unmitigated disaster, and it's what we opened the podcast with, and I don't think there is – I mean, like, if you were like, oh, wow, Titans are back, they win 20-0, no. Like, this team is in a shell of itself.
Yeah, I mean, they have to clean house. It's just – you can be a bad football team, but, like, you can't be a laughingstock in the NFL. They are currently –
Fair. That should be a quote graphic, honestly.
And even the Texans, who we said, they literally cut themselves. They literally tried to cut and have been cutting their best players, like getting rid of their best players, look more respectable on a weekly basis than the Jaguars.
So do the Lions.
And the Lions as well. But the Lions have had some talent at least to start the year. But the Jaguars have, like you said, they have talent. It should not be this bad. And it's this bad because of the coaching. And obviously – Trevor Lawrence is not overcome it in a meaningful way, but like when there's 2 receivers running into each other and that's the route you're trying to work, what are you going to do?
That's on the loser assistant head coaches, though, or assistant coaches.
Yeah. It's just it should not be. No team should look like this if they have any semblance of competent coaches.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that first piece. I think you hit the nail on the head with you can be a bad football team.
Yeah.
But you can't be the laughingstock of the NFL. And Urban Meyer has taken laughingstock to a whole nother level, dude. There's a meme coming out every hour on Urban Meyer, and he's got the Papa John's piece to it. He's always got his hands on his knees. He's grinding on chicks in Columbus. Like, there's a lot here. Whereas Dan Campbell, who's currently projected to – he's coaching a team that's projected to have the number 1 overall pick, has earned, like, so much buy-in from that Detroit Lions, Detroit Lions players, and is, like, legitimately respected in the NFL. All right, Cowboys – at football team. I'm not talking about the Jags anymore on this podcast, or I might later, but still. Cowboys at football team. Cowboys win 27-20. And they were originally dominating this game, right? And then football team kind of came back late, almost had a backdoor cover, but Cowboys win 27-20. They were favored by 4 on the road. I have a confession.
Hit it.
I don't understand why people root for Taylor Heineke.
What do you mean?
I don't understand. Daniel Jeremiah on the broadcast called him fun to watch. Big Cat on Barstool. I get it. The underdog story is great. If Taylor Heineke had a normal name or was a former top 100 pick, no one would care about him. Now, because he's from Old Dominion and he has a funny name, that we're all rooting for the football team to get in the playoffs. Sam Monson on the NFL show is actively rooting for a football team to get in the playoffs, to sneak in. It's why are we rooting for bad football teams?
It's exciting. He plays. I mean, okay, so he is a first ballot fun to watch Hall of Famer. We put him in. He got fun to watch.
He has 4 games
weeks
graded over 70 in his career.
Okay.
That he's not like the roller coaster that people think he is. He's not even Ryan Fitzpatrick level of good.
Yeah, I get that. That's all. These are all factual points. But you root for him because when it is the high end plays, when it does go well, it is objectively fun. Because it's a roller coaster.
All right.
And
I just feel like the roller coaster doesn't have enough highs for me to like it. I don't.
But it's
4 games graded over 70 in his career, and 2 came in that postseason run where Heineke was born.
Yeah, but
he has 2 games this year.
Andy Dalton was the roller coaster with the Bengals, but the high end was tame.
Yeah,
when Heineke makes the high end plays, it's him dancing around the pocket, throws it up to Terry McLaurin with 2 guys on him. There's a excitement that comes along with watching him play football that, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't have.
Yeah,
even if Teddy Bridgewater is the better quarterback.
I get it.
So
it's fun.
That's why.
Root for the rejects. No, he's not.
I mean, there's no real quote unquote upside to this football team though.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a make some noise team anymore with him at quarterback.
No,
they're not. They're
so
not.
People were picking this team to win division.
Exactly. They're not sneaking in the playoffs and all of a sudden, catching lightning in a bottle.
No,
like you said earlier. No,
part and parcel.
It's just not happening. It's just not happening. But I will say, the other side of the football, Cowboys defense is for real when they're at full strength.
100%.
DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, that pass rush is a monster. They only allowed 14 points this game. Obviously, scored 7 themselves off that fumble 6 that Micah Parsons generated. This team can actually win with their defense in the playoffs, which, they might need to, because kind of the swept under the rug thing of the past handful of weeks is their offense not looked great. Dak Prescott, ever since returning from that calf injury, has not been the guy we saw prior to that this season. He has not been lighting the world on fire. 4 turnover-worthy plays in this game, and that pick 6 was a brutal, brutal pick 6.
The one to Cole Holcomb? That was gross.
I mean, it looked like he was throwing it
to Cole Holcomb.
Yeah, it was. So that needs to turn around. And we thought, they were back at full strength. They got the receivers back. It's going to look good. It didn't. So.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that they need to play a lot better when they get to the postseason, but it is a win now, right? I mean, they're minus 5,000 to win the division. They are going to the postseason. I think they need to get healthy by then. Tony Pollard didn't play in this game. Tyron Smith, I think, got banged up and left this game at some point. Cowboys need to stay healthy, but defensively, Micah Parsons, I mean, this team is rocking on that side of the ball. They got DeMarcus Lawrence back. Randy Gregory's playing really well. I'm excited about this Cowboys defense, and I think offensively it'll figure itself out as they get healthier. My last note was root for good football teams, and I don't think the football team is one. I think they got to move on from Taylor Heineke. If there are football team fans, period, but if there are football teams fans rooting for Heineke to be this starter next year, I think you're crazy. I mean, you're crazy. Heineke is the 6th lowest graded quarterback in the NFL, 4 games graded over 70 in his career. Objectively, in my opinion, not a guy you hitch your wagon to. I think they need to be getting better at the position. They should be one of these destination spots for a Derek Carr, an Aaron Rodgers, a Russell Wilson, if one of these guys does get on the loop.
I feel as if you're arguing against no one at this point. No one has that.
I think I have just a little vendetta against Sam Monson, because Sam Monson is still rooting for this football team and Heineke or whatever. And I'm upset about the amount of because you compare Heineke to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones makes a mistake and they want him dead. Heineke makes a mistake. It's just Heineke making another mistake. He'll get it figured out.
How fun was it though?
He's like a clown. People. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to Lions Broncos.
Corchester.
Yeah, Corchester. Lions Broncos. I think we both bet Dan Campbell here, and Broncos kind of came in and went off. Yeah. Broncos win 38-10. This offensive line, Quinn Miners included, is paving the way for whoever. It could be Melvin Gordon. It could be Javonte Williams. This run game looks good. And when that's working and you don't have to lean on Teddy to win games, they can actually get into a groove here because this defense is still really good. The secondary, that pick by Justin Simmons was awesome. Then he immediately goes to the area of the field that they marked off for Demaryius Thomas and kind of respecting his passing, which was obviously super unfortunate. I don't know if we've talked about it on this podcast, but that freaking stinks. Awful. Justin Simmons doing that and honoring Demaryius Thomas was freaking awesome. I think what the Broncos did for Demaryius Thomas overall was awesome, and they came out with a big win. This was a convincing one as well.
Yeah, their offensive line right now is playing some inspired football.
Oh, yeah.
Lloyd Cushenberry really coming into his own of late. Quinn Miners, we'll talk about him later in the Rookie of the Week segment. But, man, Miners looks – I couldn't believe – I mean, I shouldn't say I couldn't believe he wasn't starting earlier, but, like, he looks like he belongs. I mean, he looks like the guy we kind of build him as. He was just outside the top 50 on the PFF draft board, said he's one of the best tier offensive linemen in this class. Fairly NFL ready despite coming from D3. Looks the part right now. And Bobby Massey at right tackle, Bears probably wishing they still had him at this point. So that offensive line is going to be, if they are going to sneak their way into the playoffs, it's going to be because of them. And the fact that Javonte Williams looking like running back one.
Yeah, Javonte Williams is awesome. Melvin Gordon is running through gaping holes behind that offensive line as well, too, though. And then I added as this note, Jared Goff stinks. Jared Goff has not played really well this year.
Breaking news.
I think the only veteran quarterbacks that rank in the bottom 6, so there's a bunch of rookies, and that's Jared Goff and Big Ben, and then Taylor Heineke right above them. Those are the 3 bad QBs in the NFL right now.
Javonte Williams leads the NFL in broken tackles.
Yeah, right up. There's him and Jonathan Taylor are the only 2 running backs over 50.
He is 16th in attempts. He's not even first on his own team in attempts and leads the NFL in broken tackles.
That's incredible.
Dude. He's a dude.
Love it.
All right.
Giants at Chargers. This was a blowout, and it was a blowout spread. Chargers were favored by 10.5 over Mike Glennon and the New York Giants. Another game that was somewhat hard to watch when the Giants had the football, but when Justin Herbert had the football, it was awesome. He had that throw that was very comparable to Russell Wilson. It was still really sick. Yeah. I'm in on the Chargers as deep postseason contenders. I think I said that in week 1, and I'm still backing it. I think in the AFC, I still see the strength of that conference as New England, Kansas City, Buffalo, and I think Los Angeles is that 4th team for me. I like them as deep postseason contenders. This defense, Joey Bosa was an absolute monster in this game. Joey Bosa turned back on the tape, put Solder, Andrew Thomas, whoever was in his path, in an absolute blender. Got to the quarterback consistently. They have a lot of talent on the back end as well. Chris Harris Jr. is playing good football for this team. And then when you have Justin Herbert, who is a top 5 graded passer this season, making the plays he is now with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler got banged up in this one, but he should come back healthy. This Chargers team is legit, and I think they should be bet on as these potential flirting with. And they got a huge game this week, right? Chiefs Thursday night.
I hate that it's Thursday night because it's kind of, you get the early week. Fluky shit always happens on Thursday night. Like you want it to be like a Sunday night game, like
or even Sunday 4 o'clock slate. I wouldn't hate.
But I will say this is like who the Chargers are. This is what they should be. This game, kind of what we've been billing them as, kind of all year long. Mm-hmm. I've been saying this is a top 3 team in the NFC. With legitimately, when they are completely healthy, could win the Super Bowl. This is a Super Bowl contender in that conference for certain, and they need to, against teams like the Giants, just look like they are in a different class, and that is what this was. You wrote throw of the year for Justin Herbert, and I saw a lot of throw of the year. So I went and watched every single 1.5 or higher graded throw. And I will say there was 1 or 2 other throws that I'll put in contention for it. I do think Herbert's was objectively better than Wilson's, even though they were like damn near identical in terms of like attempts. But Herbert was about to get crushed. Wilson was not quite as
under pressure,
as much under heat. Mm-hmm. But Stafford had a throw in Week 4 against the Cardinals on a 3rd and 16 over the middle of the field, where he splits 2 deep look and has to go over a linebacker about 40 yards on the football field. That one was hot, and then Rodgers had one against the Lions.
Of course Rodgers did.
First one, Rodgers was, probably went about 58 yards in the air, but it was into a tighter window to Devontae Adams because they had to put it on the sideline. And probably about 58 yards, so probably about 5 yards shorter than Herbert's, but Herbert's had a bigger window considering he had the middle of the field to work with. So those are your top 3 throws of the year. Any order you want to put them in.
Get a clip of all of those out. I would love
Any
to see
order
that.
you want
You
to
never
put them
tweet,
in, but those are
your Twitter. You need
I
to
don't
tweet
like tweeting.
More. Put a clip of all 3 of those back to back and say which one's the best throw of the year. You'll get 1,000 likes minimum.
All right. Possibly.
I think Burrow, too, if you couch it with, like, man, this guy doesn't have the arm talent of some of these other guys. There's some throws on Burrow's tape this year, like, holy shit, like, he shouldn't be making some of these throws. Like, he's got some – he has to make up for not having an absolute rocket with, where he anticipation and where he puts the throw. Like, that throw to Jamar Chase that got them into OT was hot, right where it needed to be on the sluggo.
Well, let's get to that game.
49ers-Bengals. Bengals were favored by a half point originally. I think it closes the 49ers as 1.5 point favorites. I highlighted this game as my dump truck of the week in that I thought the 49ers were going to come to Cincinnati and dump truck the Bengals, and they did for the first three quarters.
Are you trying to brand dump truck of the week or something?
I am. I'm going to get like a little Tonka truck, like a little toy, and it's going to come out. Or like I think so Quinn's doing these cool lower thirds here. I think if he threw a little truck, like skated, like a little drove across. Think about it, Quinn. Think about it. 49ers were up 20-6 through the first three quarters. And remember when I was talking about this game, I said the Bengals were going to go in here, run the football a ton on early downs, and then get blown out. And they did through the first three quarters. The Bengals passed on early downs just 50% of the time in the first three quarters, which would be good if it was a season-long rate for bottom three in the NFL. In the fourth quarter, they passed 84% of the time, actually climbed back into the game, pushed it to OT, and ultimately lose. The reason they lost that game is because of the game plan going in. They have the number 2 graded passer in the NFL behind Tom Brady. They have one of the more impressive passing attacks. T. Higgins has been phenomenal this year. Jamar Chase, when he actually catches the football, is phenomenal this year. They have so much going for them when they throw the football. They just don't. And that's why they go down 26. And I think that's ultimately why they lose this game. Obviously, they had a chance in OT, but don't go down to a bad San Francisco 49ers defense just because you're trying to like establish Joe Mixon on early downs.
So I think the thought process in what the Bengals and why they have such a run-heavy attack, like the run-heaviest attack for a team with an elite quarterback in the NFL right now. That just is a fact. They are.
They're one of the run-heaviest attacks in the NFL,
like,
regardless of who the quarterback is. But when you factor in that they have Joe Burrow, it's absurd.
And I think the thought process is, hey, Joe Burrow tore his ACL. Our offensive line's still meh. Let's protect him. There are so many other better ways to protect your quarterback at this point in time that are known that are not just run the football. Because what that does is, and we've said this a lot, when you have 2 unsuccessful runs, first and second down, and you're in a 3rd and 7, those are the most dangerous. Those are the most high leverage. That's when your quarterback gets hit the most on those 3rd down runs. And so that's kind of like what they've been putting. That's why he's taking sacks at a really high rate, because when he is under pressure, it's most often on 3rd down, and he's trying to create something out of it. And so he's not just going to dump it. He's not just going to throw it in the dirt. And so he's taking more shots because of it. He gets sacked 6 times in this game because he is in situations that are high sack situations. You know, like because his dropbacks are the situations where Your
mom's been in some high sack situations. Sorry.
Not in a while.
I haven't done your mom joke in a while. You owe me one.
That one was good. But I will say, then the ending sequence, though, was just comical in terms of going back for a full quarter and a half, for the whole fourth quarter, for overtime. Joe Burrow has just has just been cooking. Like literally the passing offense, the 49ers have no recourse. And you get into the red zone, and first and second down, Joe Mixon carries. 3 carries for 7 yards in overtime, only 2 passes for Joe Burrow, and they go for 49 yards. Pretty brutal sequence there, and then obviously the 49ers come back. And they run it once with Deebo Samuel on their drive and let Jimmy Garoppolo, objectively a worse quarterback than Joe Burrow, pass 6 times. You got to, at some point, trust your quarterback to win you games. The Bengals still do not.
Brutal.
Cost himself the game.
Absolutely brutal. Bengals fans deserve better. Before we get to, we have a couple more games left, and then we got to get out of here. Bills at Bucks, and then Bears at Packers before we close with a handful of other segments here. But football fans, I'm sure you love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game. The latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on an NFL team to score will win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can get in on the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet $1 on any NFL team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score. With promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. But Bills at Bucks. I think we both picked the Bucks. Bucks got out to 3.5. I think it opened at 3. It got out to 3.5, and they covered both. Rashad Perriman on a game-winning overtime touchdown.
Little busted cove.
Freaking sick game. Awesome game.
Yeah.
Bills came in late, really surged late. A lot of conversation about how they weren't running the football, and it's why they were trailing. They really started to turn it on late, though. Josh Allen was banged up in this game. I think he did the press conference in a boot. I still felt, even as the Bills were coming back, and they pushed in the OT, that Tampa Bay had firm control over this game. Tom Brady was on fire. The defense was playing well. Like, obviously, down the stretch, they gave up some points. But honestly, I felt Tampa Bay was the better football team start to finish, and they ultimately win this one.
Yeah. Again, you're going to hear a lot about, the Bills didn't pass the football once in the first half. And it's like the Bills, run the football. Didn't hand it off once in the first half. That's who the Bills are. They still scored 27 points in regulation against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Like, I get that everyone wants to sort of have balance offensively, and that the running game has been so entrenched in how people view winning football games. But when you are bad at running the football, which the Buffalo Bills are bad at running the football.
Yes.
They have mid running backs and a poor run blocking offensive line. It does not behoove you to throw Devin Singletary into Vita Vea 5 times to get no yards. It behooves you to give Josh Allen as many reps as he can against one of the best defenses in the NFL, one of the best secondaries, to maximize your opportunity there. And, again, you scored 27 points by the end of the game. Mm-hmm. If it was the running game that they had run the ball 20 times in the first half, didn't get any points, but then all of a sudden the fourth quarter, the running game's going off, everyone would have said, see, this is why you run the football early, because it pays dividends in the fourth quarter. Maybe that's why you pass the football early, because it pays dividends in the fourth quarter, because they went off and scored a bunch of touchdowns in the fourth quarter. No, it's just like you trust your best player to win it when you don't have a good running game. So that is my biggest takeaway from this one, is that, again, Buffalo Bills, if you're going to run the football, run it with Josh Allen. You just don't need to necessarily run the football when you don't have the ability to do so at a high level.
You don't have to do something purposely inefficient and something that you're not good at just to establish the run or impose your will. And I think there's a lot of things now in the Bills offense that is like an extension of the run game, right? Like they do
a lot of RPOs, and a lot of those were just pulled in the first half.
And they do a lot of screen stuff too, like a lot of stuff by the line of scrimmage where you are trying to get easier yards than 5- and 7-step dropbacks, but you're not specifically handing the ball off to Devin Singletary and watch Vita Vea eat his lunch. Yeah. Last game here, Bears-Packers.
One more note on the Bucs.
Go ahead.
And it's this cornerbacks, when they're at full strength, they remind me a lot of the Legion of Boom when they were, in terms of they warped the perception of refs because they're so physical, play after play, that you could call a holding, a illegal contact, pass interference on every play. But refs aren't going to do that. Refs aren't just going to go. Some refs do, but a lot of refs aren't going to want to do that. And I think you saw it towards the end of this game, a lot of whistles being swallowed on plays with a lot of contact, whether it's some of those Stephon Diggs throws at the end of the game. And that is because of who they are, the Bucs, and that's why they are a dangerous defense in the NFC right now.
On to Bears at Packers. Packers were favored by 12.5. I think this number got maybe even a little bit further down the stretch. And even though it was a sloppy, gross game, specifically on special teams for the Packers, and they gave up some big, dumb plays on defense too, Packers still covered that number. They win 45-30 in a little bit of a fireworks show. I feel like there was obviously some mental errors in this one where Green Bay was kind of taking some things off. But I knew this game was over, and you know it too, when Robert Quinn did the double check down thing. You said it on the show before. You don't mock the belt. You mock the belt. You mock the belt, you're toast. You mock the belt, and it's over. This one's a hard game because I feel like the score looks a lot closer than this game was, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was 24-14 at one point. The Bears were up, and I'm sitting on my couch at home not even pressed.
Yeah.
I don't think any Packers fan is really worried about an upset even still, because it was. I mean, the way that the Bears would have won is if they would have kept allowing punt return touchdowns and kick return touchdowns. Their special teams were an abject disaster in that game, and honestly got a little lucky because Amari Rodgers let a ball hit off his face mask that the Bears would have recovered.
I know.
That got negated by a penalty. It was an all-time bad special teams performance from the Packers to even keep this one close.
And then they recovered the onside kick.
Yeah. But the Packers offense, and I will repeat this once again about the Bengals offense, they need to take a page from what Matt LaFleur is doing in Green Bay. They had 4 starters down their offensive line. Their only starter from what should have been their week 1 starting lineup is a rookie right guard. And they still put up 45 points. Now, it was 38 because one was defensive score. They still put up 38 points. They still have a ton of easy offense, and they still can move the ball. And Rodgers isn't taking big hits because of chipping your tackles, getting the ball out quickly, swing screens, getting the ball, but also still having the ball be in the hands of your best player consistently.
Yeah.
That is something that the Bengals have to take a page from, because that is how you protect your quarterback when you do not have the offensive line to necessarily pass protect one-on-one all the time.
We're going to get to the fun to read, fun to watch segment. Quinn has some cool graphics prep for that. Before we do, not going to preview Rams-Cardinals again. I think we both picked Cardinals. I'm buying a Kyler Murray jersey if the Cardinals win 2.5, and I'm joining the Red Sea. And Jalen Ramsey and tight end Tyler Higbee are out with COVID.
Whew.
That's a big hit.
I had picked the Rams. That flips my...
Flipping the Cardinals? That's fine.
That's
Before we get to the fun to reads, make sure you tune into that game. But also, Western and Southern want a chance to win the ultimate game day feast, whether it's football success or financial savvy. Winning starts with asking us questions. Would you like to know what it's like behind the scenes with Allen Sunday Night Football? How about a need to know for your financial future? Western and Southern is teaming up with PFF's very own Chris Collinsworth to share insights that can help put you ahead on both your fantasy and financial scoreboards. Every submission earns you a chance to win the ultimate feast to celebrate football's favorite Sunday. We'll cover you catering up to $2,500. Coordinate your order from a restaurant near you and have it delivered on February 13th, 2022. And don't forget to check out the Chris Collinsworth podcast and Western Southern's Instagram for answers to the best questions each week. Submit your questions at westernsouthern.com/askchris. One more time, that is westernsouthern.com/askchris. If you are watching on YouTube, check out the link in the description below. Remember, with Western Southern, you can rest assured on game day. All right, you had a special plan for these fun to reads and fun to watches. Do you want me to go in order of how you've listed them?
Yes, please.
Okay.
The first one is the discussion that took place on CBS after.
Oh, gotcha. This one. So it was So Justin Rousseau, thank you for your work. He posted the clip on CBS of it's like Jim Nantz and a handful of guys, boomers.
Not Jim Nantz.
Not Jim Nantz. Sorry.
Phil Simms.
Phil Simms and a handful of boomers talking about the Ravens' decision to go for 2 down 9. Quinn, you have the clip prepped if you want to run it.
I want to see the analytics people come up and do the interview after the game. Tell me why you did it. Let me hear that explanation. You know, it changes when you're down 2 scores. The other team, as you said, Bill, they change their play calling and how they direct the game. So we don't put that into the analytics, I don't think. I don't know. I don't care. We saw the Pittsburgh Steelers do the same thing against the Minnesota Vikings, and it kind of caught them. Yeah. So it's just, but the last thing, Cleveland's defense, they were all over the quarterback. They got 4 sacks, hit him a lot, so they made it tough. Once again, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, like the first meeting they had, they played very well.
You know, but before we leave that point, I would love to see, that's a great idea to have somebody who is in charge of the analytics.
Yeah.
To have that conversation afterwards to talk about the other aspects of the game.
No, here it is. Here's the whole thing. Well, analytics told me to do it.
Yeah.
All right, next question. That's what we say.
Yeah, they'll
every
show you a
time.
spreadsheet and
There's
say,
never any explanation of
this is why I made
and
that
all these
decision.
things that can happen. So
Paralysis by analysis. We overanalyze things. It's not that hard.
yeah.
There's 2 things I hate about that clip the most. I think one is Sims just like disinterest in like learning this obvious growing aspect of the game, right? Where people are factoring in data. And like, I hate when people refer to analytics like it's just like this computer in the corner that like spits out a number and you have to like obey it. It is, all analytics is studying data to make more informed decisions. I've said this before, but like throwing on 3rd downs is an analytically backed decision, right? Because throwing gets you more yards, and when you are on 3rd down and you need more yards, you throw, not run, because running doesn't get as many yards. The analytics is not this computer in the corner, right? Like, it is telling you what win probability you added if you make a decision or not. 2, I hate that no one on that freaking thing debated him. Like, everyone on there was like, yep, sure, agreed, analytics, the enemy, like the boogeyman. Anyway, that clip's ridiculous.
It's like, how are you in 2021 when this is prevalent, and I'd say at least half of NFL coaching decisions, NFL coaches, about half the coaches in the league make this decision. correctly. Like
more than
correctly,
half, I'd
but like
argue.
use this line of thinking to make this decision. How are you like decrying it as incorrect without anyone having the explanation? And he even says on that panel, I don't care what the explanation is. It's like,
Why?
I don't care what the explanation
That
is.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and the fact that he says he wants to hear people like answer for it. John Harbaugh goes up and says, I want to know as soon as possible if we have to get 2 or if we have to get 1 next time.
Yeah.
Like that is all it is. It's not really even, this isn't even like a difficult, like analytically based discussion. And like we said in the game recap, the exact scenario played out. They didn't get it. So they had to get an onside kick and knew they had to get an onside kick. So they scored quickly then again, and then they got the onside kick. If they go and get the field goal after that, that is the scenario where they win that game because of that decision.
Yeah.
Instead of if they don't make that decision and wait, they obviously still lose the game. So it's a very easy point to grasp that people still stick their head in the sand over.
Let's move quickly through these other fun reads. Booger had a 10-tweet thread about some notes from the NFL.
And the 10th one was
his 10th one was incredible.
Yeah.
As great as Joe Burrow is, I know we got it on the screen, and he is that, should the offense go through Joe Mixon a tad more? I just wonder what that would look like. Have you not been watching this game, but have you not watched them the entire season? Like they give Joe Mixon is the offense on early downs. Like they go through him more than they should by a fucking country mile. That's insane for him to say that. I don't know why he would still. Is it because he didn't have a ton of yards yesterday? Like, why would you even like?
I don't know. He just definitely did not probably watch the game.
I mean, that has to be a factor.
I mean, he probably just looked at how many total carries he had and just thought that
I need to see like the box score he saw.
But that was pretty brutal.
Prompted that decision.
I threw in a bonus fun to read here right before the show because it was just tweeted out and it was too good to add. And it was Chris Sims who said this after having digested the Bills-Bucs game yesterday. At this point, the precedent is that MVP goes to the QB with the best stats on the best team. And I get that. Tom Brady has a better MVP case than Josh Allen. But watching the Bills-Bucs game yesterday, you could tell Allen was the best QB on the field.
That's insane.
You just could tell.
You could just tell.
He could tell because he's got.
I mean, he was going through injury. Is it like some of this
sense.
like a grit thing? I could see it being like a grit factor.
I'm not exactly certain, but like if you're really trying to give Josh Allen, after some of the duds he's thrown out there, the MVP this year, you're grasping a little bit at straws.
All right, on to the fun to watch. People just saying fun to watch is a non-take. Jim Nagy, quote tweeting Brett Coleman.
Friend of the show.
Who is going to be this next? Brett Coleman tweets out who's going to be this next safety, right? It's on the screen here. Who's going to be the next this year's Javon Holland, Antoine Winfield, Budda Baker. Jim Nagy, director of the Senior Bowl, says Baylor's Jalen Peter. Is it Petre? Petre. Urgent, versatile, and disruptive. At least he does that. Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. One of the most fun players to watch in the 2022 NFL Draft. You love to see a non-take from Nagy. Next here, Pete Sweeney. Who is Pete Sweeney? Pete Sweeney is the editor-in-chief and lead Kansas City Chiefs writer at Arrowhead Pride. Nice tackle there by Willie Gay. Fun player to watch every single week. I agree with that. Willie Gay should be in the Fun Watch Hall of Fame. He is a fun player to watch. And then we had one more here from Dan Feets. Dan Feets is sports anchor reporter for 13 Wham. I think that's a radio station in Buffalo. I woke up today still thinking about 3 things. Holy shit. The Josh Allen experience is so much fun to watch. Why did the refs treat Stephon Diggs like a rookie? I still can't believe they punted. Wow.
The Josh Allen experience.
It's fun to watch.
It's a fun to watch experience.
It's fair enough. That is fair enough.
And then I added this one because this one was like a corollary of the fun to watch. And this is from Brian Broaddus, who does radio in Dallas.
He's also a big draft guy.
Who was a former NFL scout, I believe.
That's right.
He said, as we close this day, I just wanted to say Charles Cross, offensive tackle from Mississippi, is a bad man on tape. Which, like, bad man's not really a take. There's like these words that people use for draft prospects, like, no, he's a dude. He's a bad man. He's a football player. That, like, they kind of elicit something in your mind about the player, but I'm not sure they're actually takes or actually they could be used across a number of different people. Like, O.J. Simpson's a bad man. That's like an actual That's who a bad man is when I think
Jesus
bad man. When I'm thinking of a football player. Bad man on a football field could then mean
Be anything.
Fucking anything. So we're gonna be adding some segments.
I like
with
that.
those
I have fun to
in the
watch
future
corollaries
because
too.
those are good ones. We got
Not necessarily non-takes on player evaluation, but similar like tried or tired tropes in social media. One, hang it in the Louvre. Hang it in the Louvre, I think, needs to be retired. It's done. Like, we've done it. We've seen it. It's great. Don't see it. You don't need to send it again. Two, this game is drunk. I feel like people tweet that out and like get like a minimum like 800 likes per, and like I'm over that.
Know what I am very over that I saw yet again, and I was just like, how dumb is this? Changing someone's Wikipedia page.
Oh,
That's might be the least funny thing to do nowadays.
that's awful.
Like
It's literally a
someone
waste of time.
changed the Raiders owner to Patrick Mahomes.
Dude, that's a child I hope did that because it isn't funny. It isn't funny. I think who's stopping that offense, who's stopping this offense is in that tier. But if you do it sarcastically, I think it's worth it. Sarcastically, I kind of like it. But I think any serious movements with the who's stopping this offense, I think needs to be killed. A couple more things here.
Right.
Rookie of the week. Who do you got?
Penei Sewell, 91.0, highest grade of his career. He has, since flipping back to right tackle, the early season drama has very much subsided. He has settled in and has been dominant. Now the 16th highest grade tackle in the entire NFL.
He's been sick this year.
Very, very good of late. Honorable mention to Quinn Miners, though, 79.9 overall grade. Didn't allow a single pressure against the Detroit Lions. That was fun to watch tape from him.
Your blackout of the week was Alex Leatherwood, the right guard for the Las Vegas Raiders, former first-round pick, allowed 9 pressures and earned the double bagel 0.0 pass blocking grade. Yeah, Chris Jones, go back and watch that tape. That guy was on a tear, absolute tear for Kansas City. Alex
what the
Leatherwood.
fuck's going on with Kansas City's defense right now? How are they the best defense in the NFL all of a sudden?
It doesn't make sense.
They legitimately are the best defense in the NFL. Like, they were everywhere.
They've had some interesting
that game.
turnover luck, though, lately, right?
Well,
like,
lately,
like
yeah.
recovering the Josh Jacobs thing. Foster Moreau had that catch that like just like bopped up into a pick. I think they are benefiting from that. And then
Living
the pass
a
rush
little
just turned
right,
on.
but yeah, wild.
Last part of the podcast here, and it's absolutely phenomenal. This is going to be a big vote for like if you don't currently watch the podcast on YouTube, you should, because this video is absolutely phenomenal. I'm so glad it was your cake your pants moment of the week because it was also mine.
It's a double.
Brian Kelly doing this recruiting video dance with one of the quarterbacks at LSU will go down as one of the fucking funniest things I've ever seen.
Calling Baton Rouge by Garth Brooks.
Please, Quinn, please bless the community with this thing.
I spent last night in the arms of a girl in Louisiana. Going out on the highway, my thoughts are still with her. Such a strange combination.
5-star LSU commit Walker Howard. He's the one that tweets it out himself.
That
it was
makes no
obviously
sense.
like
That makes no sense.
It's obviously like a video you do on your recruiting trip or whatever, and it's cool for like your own personal like PR, and you can tweet it out if you want to. And he decided that was worthy of letting him and Brian Kelly get absolutely roasted.
I'm
on Twitter
embarrassed by that video.
I mean, Kelly looks like your dad dancing at a wedding in that.
That was like the you know how you see some of those recruiting things where they let their dad like dress up in the pads?
Yeah.
Like that was that level of cringe where it's like, what are you doing, Brian Kelly?
He threw the thumbs. He did the Elaine thumbs there for a second. And then,
you know what would be great is if that guy decommits. That video will go viral again if he like goes to like wherever goes to a different school or whatever. Brian Kelly continues to deliver content, not in the same tier as Urban Meyer, but he's entering a very, very profitable tier for us from a content perspective. That's going to do it for this episode of Tailgate. Make sure you tune into the Wednesday episode. Going to go over my mock draft. We got an interview with Bruce Feldman of The Athletic. He offers some insight on the coaching carousel, transfer portal, etc. Until next time, Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, Tailgate.